So guys, for anybody that's watching, I'd like to welcome you back to the channel. My name is Ryan and this is RC's World. In this video we're going to be doing something different for a change. We're going to be going over an idea that I created for myself. This may be on YouTube, it may not, but I certainly didn't see it. And we're going to get straight onto it. As the title of the video says, you know how to stop your wheels from stripping and the tyres from ripping off and ballooning. And ballooning is when, obviously under high speeds and rotations per minute, the tyres stretch out and they burst off. So guys, in front of us we have this Traxxas Bandit, and this is kind of custom built by myself. I did call this the Bat Bandit in my previous videos, and I wanted to take this Traxxas Bandit to super high speeds and power that it wasn't actually capable of doing, so I had to work my way around this. And the first thing I did to fit a bigger motor was buy an Integrate or Integrate motor mount. However, that did fail because there was an underlying factor that I hadn't considered, which was inside the gearbox was the original gears, and they weren't strong enough to handle the higher powered motor. So what I did do, guys, I did my research, and they actually do have the Magnum 272R transmission, and I was skeptical about this. However, I added it and it was built to withstand much higher power systems and speed, and it's been absolutely awesome. It's held up perfectly well, and I do have Mod 1 gearing and the steel drive shafts and other upgrades just to handle this power. But the most important part about this was the gears inside. Now I then opted for a smaller motor but with extremely high power, and this is by TP Power. And as you can see, this is a 3640 size motor, and it's a 2430 kV, and it handles up to 6S LiPo, so that's super amounts of power for such a small RC, which is great. I have the 150 amp ESC, the quick run hobby wing, and of course we're getting on to the main part. So now that I managed to bulletproof the gears, guys, one of the biggest problems I was going to have was how am I going to stop the wheels and tyres from ripping apart, or the hexes from rounding off. Because with such high power, you know, this is exactly the most vulnerable part of the RC. So we're just going to move on to the next part right away, guys, and I'm going to explain how I do this. So just moving on with the video, what we have in front of us is the Gorilla Tape. Now this is the smaller, thinner roll, and we have the thicker one. We have these stainless steel zip ties. These are 4.6 in width by 150mm in length. We have super glue. Now I normally use Gorilla Glue gel, but we don't have any at the moment, so it's just an example. We also have the JB Weld 2-part epoxy, the aluminium wheel hexes, and we have a brand new set of wheels and tyres here, which I'm going to use as an example. And these are by Endura, and these are slicks. I have now removed the wheel and tyre from the RC, so you'll see exactly how this works. So we're just going to move on. So I have now removed the Endura wheel and tyre from the packet, and as you can see, this is what it looks like. Now of course, within 1 to 10 scale wheels and tyres, you have a 12mm hex here, and it's mostly made out of plastic. It always 99% is. I haven't seen any metal reinforced ones before. And what you have is of course the 12mm aluminium hex. Now of course you can see this tiny little mark here, this indentation, and what that does is it allows us to slide on to the end of the axle, and it clips onto this small pin here. And as that rotates, as you can see, with it clipped into here, it rotates the hex. Now the hex is of course, you know, inside the wheel, like so. So the wheel simply connects on, and that's what rotates the wheel and tyre. Now the big weak part here, guys, is when you're running high power systems or not, eventually this wheel hex, especially if you are running high power systems, it's going to want to rotate beyond the plastic. So what I mean by that is, if you're suddenly adding high amounts of power, or you know, if you're accelerating from a dead stop very fast, this hex will rotate, and this plastic surrounding it isn't strong enough. So what tends to happen is this can actually start to rotate within the plastic wheel hex, and it rounds it off, and essentially making your wheel completely obsolete. It's completely wasted. You know, you've glued your tyre on, now you have to unglue it, if you can even salvage it, and find more wheels, brand new wheels to glue the tyres back onto. Now what I managed to do was create my own idea around this, and I simply purchased this JB Weld, which is a 2-part epoxy, and they say it bonds as strong as steel. Now what I did was, guys, you can't really see it because I painted it black, but I placed this hex into this 12mm wheel. It's exactly the same, it looks exactly the same, and I got the JB Weld. Now all you do is you put an equal amount into a cup or anything, you know, a small container, and you mix it up with just a knife or anything with a blunt edge, you know, like a butter knife or even the end of a flathead screwdriver, and it mixes and it turns a dark grey colour, an equal amount, and then you simply pour as much as you can just to fill up the wheel hex inside, and then you place the aluminium hex inside, and it will all come out the edges, and you simply just mould it around the outside, you know, no higher than the actual wheel hex itself, and a lot will fill up the hole where it goes into the axle. And all I do is I just get a small Allen key or a small tool, and I just scrape it out. You know, it can come through this side or you can push it through the back, and I just wipe it off, and I create this sort of mould here. Now I did spray that black, you know, just so it blends in with the wheel, but that is all JB Weld, and this is bonded now as one solid piece. So no matter how hard this rotates, this wheel hex, which you see in here, it can't strip the wheel. It's now one solid, you know, bonded singular piece. So guys, you saved yourself a lot of hassle there. You know, you can use high-powered systems, you can use full throttle takeoffs, and you won't strip your wheel. Now we're going to move on to the tyres and how I managed to stop them from ballooning and tearing off under high speeds. So we'll just continue on with the video. So we're just continuing on with the video and seeing how you can bulletproof your tyres now that your hexes won't strip. You want to prevent your tyres from ballooning as much as possible. Now I have taken the tyre off from the wheel as it doesn't come glued and it has the foam inside, and I have turned this inside out. Now with the Endura, these are slick wheels and tyres for drag racing, so they have added this belt here, and these are called belted wheels and tyres, and the idea is that these will no longer balloon, so they won't expand under high RPMs. So that's fantastic that they already come with that. Now as for the wheels and tyres that don't, guys, this is exactly what I do anyway. So we're going to take these ones for example, and these in particular. These are ground assault, they're quite a bit bigger. Now the one thing that was going to happen under high speeds was these tyres were going to expand, and they were going to tear off, or they were at least going to come off the rim, and when they come off the rim, you know, with the ballooning they start stretching and they tear off the rim, and then a tear happens and the tyre becomes obsolete, regardless of the fact that you've JB welded the hex and made it bulletproof. So what I do is, before I glue these tyres on, I then take them off, take the foams out, turn them inside out like this, and I then use the Gorilla Tape. But before I do that, what I do is with this tyre, I then get the glue, and I just add a little bit round, you know, and I go around the wheel and tyre, you know, just holding it like this, rotating it round with a little bit of super glue, just to bond the tape on extremely well. And I then use the Gorilla Tape, and I tape round maybe about 3 to 4 rings, depending on how the width of the wheel of the tyre. Sorry, you know, if it's very slim, I'll use this one, but for sure I would use that one here, and I did. And it creates this belt. Then what you do is you turn the tyre back to its original form. You know, you turn it back inside out. You place the foam in, and then you glue it back onto the wheel as such. And that's exactly what I done here. You know, I essentially just turned this tyre inside out, glued it, and then taped several rings round, turned it back inside out, put the foam back in, put a lot of glue on with a Gorilla Glue gel onto this wheel, which has the JB welded hex, and now it doesn't balloon practically at all, guys. At least, you know, 80% less than what it would. So I can use this for super high speeds with the 6S LiPo, and it'll be absolutely fantastic. You know, I have a wheel and tyre that's going to last me all the way to the finish line, and when the tyre does run out of tread, or it does come to its final life, you know, you can use a heat gun and you can unglue this carefully. You still have a working wheel with the hex in, and you can just glue another tyre on and do the same. Now that would be the first sort of stage of anti-ballooning. The second stage would be, of course, I'm assuming this belt that they have pre-made, which I'm going to assume is a lot more durable and causes less ballooning than the Gorilla Tape, but we're going to find out. Now the third stage for me, guys, was an idea that I invented, and you do need wheels like this that follow in line with a sort of a pattern where the zip tie can go right over. Now of course we have the JB welded hex, and for seconds I turned these inside out and added the Gorilla Tape. So these have been taped, and then just to finally add some super extra strength to this to prevent from ballooning at all, I got these 4.6mm by 150mm for a 1:10 scale tyre, and I just zip tied these round, you know, evenly, one for each hole. And as you can imagine, when the tyre tries to expand, you know, it's going to be highly restricted from doing so with these steel zip ties. Now to do that, of course, you do need a pattern on your wheel and tyre where the zip tie can follow through. So you know, for things like this it wouldn't work, but you have taped these, so this is good enough. You know, it wouldn't work here because the zip ties would just sit over the grip, and you know, there would be no traction because, you know, it would be running on the steel zip tie. But for these paddle tires, this is absolutely awesome. It'll work perfect, and it will work with many other wheels and tires. So if you can look out, you know, a certain tire that has these open areas, you can line that up with these zip ties, and you can bulletproof your tires, guys. So there we have it. You know, that's how to bulletproof your wheels and bulletproof your tires. This is an idea that I came up with. Now I have moved up to a 20 tooth pinion now, which is very large compared to the 16 tooth on the 6S LiPo motor. We're going to be taking this out for a blast again, push it to the absolute limit. You know, the Magnum transmission I'm sure will hold up, and especially these wheels and tires, you know, they'll be pushed to the limit as well, with absolute minimal ballooning and no hexy stripping. So it was kind of a long video, guys, but I had to go into the details, and you know, you can see that for yourself, and you can try this out for yourself and see how it works, and you will be highly impressed. Hope you enjoy that, and we'll move on to the next video. Thanks for watching as always, and subscribe to RC's World for more great information, hints and tips and custom creations of mine.